The town of Ontonagon is rich in history with ties to the lumber, mining, and railroad industries. Local 3's Haley Shongar has more on how these different industries have helped make the town what it is today.
Well, initially it was all Native Americans, of course, way back, prior to 1600. Sometime in the 1600s, the French came and they got heavily into the fur trade industry. So the whole Lake Superior Basin was French fur trade industry prior to the existence of modern-day Ontonagon. Modern-day Ontonagon came about basically because of Ohio, believe it or not.
After the state of Michigan acquired the Upper Peninsula in 1837 through the Toledo War, an abundance of natural resources were unearthed in the UP.
So immediately the governor hired a state geologist, Douglas Houghton, to come up here and survey the UP and see what we got up here. And he found all kinds of minerals, copper in particular. So right shortly thereafter, the copper boom started. So in the 1840s, lots of development of copper mines up here in this area, including Ontonagon. First one was 1848 over in Rockland at the Minnesota mine, and that was our most profitable mine up until White Pine came later. Anyway, town of Ontonagon then had to grow up to serve as a port for the copper mines, basically. So by the 1850s, there was a legitimate town here.
With a town comes the need to build things, and the lumber industry began to boom for the town of Ontonagon.
But the mining area needed timber. You had to have lumber for houses. So that's where that started. And John, a fellow by the name of John Parker started the first sawmill here in about 1855. And that's the house, the first house that was built here is still standing with lumber from his mill. So they had cut stuff for the mines because you have to have timbers and such for the mining effort. So that started the timber industry up here.
Sharing natural resources with the rest of the country didn't happen on its own. The Porterfield and Ellis Railroad Company found a unique way around the terrain of the western UP.
They had something called loops on their railroads. And what a loop was just a big dip in the railroad. Instead of building a giant, expensive railroad trestle up at grade at the top of the river valley, they would just go down the hill with the rails, make a small bridge across the river at the bottom, and then go up a big hill on the other side. And they called those loops. And the loops were not employed only here in Michigan, but there weren't a lot of them. They were employed elsewhere. But supposedly our loop had the steepest railroad grade found anywhere. And the engineer was, I think his name was Gerald Dayhut, last name definitely Dayhut. And he wrote a nice story that we have on his days lumbering with Porterfield and Ellis. And he said in order to make it up the far side hill, he had to go 70 miles an hour on the downhill grade. With a little old steam engine, they're just blasting down that thing, wind flying everywhere. He said they could not fire the furnace while they were doing the loop because it would suck in shovels and everything else. The suction was just way too great at that speed.
Mining is no longer practiced, but logging, farming, and now tourism are a part of the Ontonagon landscape. If you're interested in taking a deeper dive into the people, traditions, and things that helped shape Ontonagon into what it is today, the Ontonagon Historical Society is open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. Reporting in Ontonagon, Haley Shongar, Local 3 News.